went from being very self-reliant as of necessity. We'd experienced the prosperity boom with the Second World War and the presence of the Americans. And that had brought to our consciousness, that and the Second World War, the consciousness of a wider, of a more worldwide context. And we were presented with the question, well, where do we go from here? The fact that almost half the population wanted to maintain our independence and go it alone in a big, wide world is quite a credit to our sense of rugged independence that we were prepared to do that. However, we made the choice we did to make our way within the context of Confederation. And here we are. My biggest criticism would be that, and it's been aided and abetted by various politicians of all political stripes, because there was this big piggy bank in Ottawa. People have been encouraged to look on government as the source of solutions to all problems. That's not a healthy outlook. It was a pretty clear choice between a measure of prosperity that many people here had not known before 1949 came along, and carrying on with a way of life which was one of misery and poverty for many of the population. It brought us into the Canadian welfare state, which became more and more the Canadian welfare state as time went on. We had in '49 an economy, particularly in rural areas, that really was not a cash economy. There was poverty, there was malnutrition, and Canada brought an influx of checks, pension checks and other kinds of checks that suddenly put people in possession of money and some discretion over their spending. So, that's got to be a good thing. It helped a lot of people in terms of their material standard of living. However, it also undermined what I think were traditional values of self-reliance that we brought into Confederation with us. It encouraged an outlook which is now dominant in the Canada we live in today, which is that government exists to solve our social problems and keep us safe. That's a problem, because it is not the road to prosperity, and it paves the way for more and more government control of our lives and loss of liberty. It's hard to imagine Newfoundland and Labrador without the context of Confederation. It helped us build a modern road network that didn't exist before that. Modern healthcare system, hospitals, many social services that we accept as being part and parcel of being in an advanced society at this point in time. It would have been a different path if we had some relationship with the United States. Obviously, they're a very different culture, a very different society. But ultimately, there's no point in comparing, because you can't accurately do it. The period leading up to 1971, when Smallwood basically ruled Newfoundland and Labrador, it was a more or less capricious one-man government. That's a long time ago now, so certainly he made his mark on history by being the advocate who persuaded us to come into Canada. After that, it was a very personalized style of rulership in which he made many mistakes, but some good decisions, like the development of Memorial University. So again, it was what it was. Smallwood was the dominant force for the first 20 years or more of Confederation. He became more and more, I'd put it, ungovernable, and not subject to cost-benefit analysis and how he ran the government. But he was entertaining, and I leave it at that.